And we had a few of those that went super viral. One of the ones that we did for Tesla, we posted on TikTok and it did 2 million views there. And then we reposted on Instagram and it did another like 5 million views. And on YouTube Shorts, it had a few million views. I think all across the board, it ended up getting like 12 million views. And so we were like, okay, this is something that works. And we were able to repeat it multiple times on that channel. And just that was like really the first case study to say, okay, this is something that is repeatable. There's a structure here. There's a system that we can actually apply on basically any video in any niche.
Conar Fair, I want to start with Carey, one of your case studies. He was over 60, no experience with social media, and you guys helped him, and then his first video got over 4 million views, and he's now got over 300,000 subscribers or followers, and that's happened all over the last 2 years. Tell me, how the heck did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, Jerry is such an interesting case study for multiple reasons, but I mean, one of the most interesting reasons that a lot of people don't actually know is Jerry is my co-founder Meg's dad and ended up becoming my mom's boyfriend as well. So really interesting tie into the family that happened through doing all of this. And the reason that I think he's such an incredible case study is he was one of our first students that came through and really proved how well what we teach can work. And the main reason for that is obviously the fact that he's 60. He had never had any kind of social media experience or made videos at all in his life. And he was literally just about to take a job driving a steel truck across Canada in the middle of winter, which was kind of just like to make a little bit of additional money in semi-retirement. And when he came to us and was explaining that to us, we're just like, I mean, that sounds dangerous. That doesn't sound like it's super fun or something that you necessarily want to do. So what if we just gave this influencer thing a crack? Like, what if you just took what we teach in our course and applied that to something that you actually do love doing, which in his case was just golf. He's loved golf forever. He's been caddying since he was a kid, and he loves caddying almost more than he does golfing just because of the people that he gets to meet and the places that it can take you. So he's like, oh, if I could get paid to just caddy for people in golf, that would be a dream come true. And so we saw that as an opportunity to really show that what we teach people works. And we helped him create his first ever TikTok. We shot the entire behind the scenes of the whole production and created the format that is now Carey, which is essentially, it works the exact same way every single time. Sorry, I'm just getting my dogs are absolutely freaking out in the background.
That's all right. They must be enjoying the interview.
I think, yeah. So we helped him develop this first format, which is what we call like a stranger challenge format. And essentially it works the exact same way every single time. And he's been doing this for 2 years straight now, uploading literally the exact same video. The only thing that changes is the people and the golf course that he plays it on. And so the way that the format works is he approaches somebody on the golf course and sets up some stakes and says, if I can get you par on this hole today, I will, or if you let me caddy for you on this hole and I can't make you par, I'll give you a prize. So that prize can be cash, it can be a golf club, it can be golf balls, doesn't really matter as long as there's stakes involved. And the very first one that we created for him and shot the behind the scenes, posted the first ever TikTok, brand new TikTok account, and it got almost 4 million views just on TikTok. And that really set his channel in progress. And over the next 2 years, he's just continued to rinse and repeat that exact same challenge format. And it's taken him to Europe, Spain. He was in Ireland, all over the UK, all throughout the States. He spends like half of the year in the States now just caddying for strangers and going to the biggest golf events on earth. He was invited to the Masters. He's just really lived his dream over the last 2 years from finding this one really unique, incredible viral format.
That's amazing. And what I love about it is how it was, someone who's never done this before. In your case, though, you've got a bit of a background there. Like that wasn't your first rodeo, though. Like it wasn't the first ever case study that you guys did. Give me a quick sort of bird's eye view of where you came from, because you came from sort of a farming community, right? And you learned the secrets of hard work and that sort of stuff. But how the heck did you go from a farm boy to doing social media? If you can give us a quick overview on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love sharing my story because I really just feel like it proves that if I can get paid to make videos on the internet, truly anybody on earth can do it, because I didn't even have internet connection or Wi-Fi until I was 12 years old. Grew up in a little farm community milking cows, and the internet has obviously completely changed my life, and it's changed everybody's lives, but I never at that age would have even thought about the idea of getting paid to make video content. And so the way that that kind of evolved and transpired is that I have always been somewhat entrepreneurial. And when I started my first business, it was a clothing company, which was a terrible business to start because it's very capital intensive. But it did teach me that I needed to become a marketer. And that's when I first picked up a photo camera, learned how to take photos, and eventually a video camera. And I met my now wife, who at the time had a YouTube channel. And this was over 10 years ago. And so being a successful YouTuber wasn't really a thing back then. But she had established a following and was starting to make money from making YouTube videos. And I just thought that was super, super interesting because it wasn't something that I even realized was possible before meeting her. And we actually hired her to be a model to do a lookbook for us for our clothing company. And that's what introduced me initially to video content creation. And from that moment, I was kind of just hooked. And so I realized like I needed to find a way to start getting paid to learn how to create videos, because at the time I had a $30,000 student line of credit that I had absolutely maxed out trying to start this clothing company. So I didn't really have any money to put into education or anything like that. So I ended up getting a job as a social media coordinator at an automotive dealership because I knew that doing that would allow me to get my hands on a camera and start taking photos and making videos and basically just get paid a salary, a very small salary, but at least get paid a salary to learn how to start creating content. And after doing that for a couple of years, I started just like really developing a skill set. And it got to the point where I was like, I want to do this full time. And I know I can make more doing this if I just take it on myself. And so I made a Craigslist ad and started off doing music videos for rappers and some pretty like sketchy music artists at the time. Definitely got myself in some like pretty weird situations with that, but it made me realize I can put myself out there and I can find work creating videos. And so started my own video production company and ran that for a few years before moving to a new city, where I ended up meeting up with Glenn and Meg, who are my current business partners and have been for the last 5 years. And we kind of co-founded what is now One Peak Creative, because they were also running a marketing agency and videographers, and we were both new in the same city. And so we're like, rather than competing, what if we just kind of joined forces and worked on this together? And we started off as just a video production company and loved it. It was a dream job for us, and we were able to work with some incredible clients. I remember when we first had our first six-figure client was Expedia, and we got to go to Hawaii over New Year's to create an ad for them, like a TV spot. And it was really, really fun. And we learned a lot about high level video production. But what was challenging is we were limited creatively. A lot of these big brands had the budget, they had the creative brief. They said, this is what you're doing. All we want you to do is shoot it and get it to us. And so like we called these really beautiful cinematic videos roop-de-doos because they just didn't have substance. And they often didn't really tell a story or provide value. They were kind of just like these beautiful ads. So while they were fun to create, it kind of just got old, and we wanted to be more creative and start writing funny, more like skit ads like you would see in the Super Bowl or on SNL. And so we pitched brands on these, but we didn't have any track record. So they would kind of just be like, oh, that's kind of funny, but no, why don't we just play it safe and do this thing? And so we just kept doing that for a couple of years until 2020, which obviously changed things, a lot of things for a lot of people. And our business got shut down. And within the course of basically a week, we lost $250 to $300,000 worth of contracts because we weren't allowed to be in the room with actors. Like we basically just had to close our business. And during that time, we kind of took a day to just like think about what on earth we were going to do. And we sat down and came to the realization that there's always 1% of people who come out of these like economic downturns or whatever financial hard times, pandemics that you're going through, and they come out better for it. And so we viewed it as an opportunity to just hone our craft and locked ourselves in my house together for 30 days. And we decided every single day for 30 days, we were going to wake up, conceptualize, write, shoot, edit, and release an ad on Instagram every single day for 30 days. And it didn't matter how many people saw it. It didn't matter kind of what impact it made. We were just committing to it. So even if it was bad, we had to do 30 because the whole point was just getting really good at writing funny, entertaining, amazing ads. And so we got into that process, and the first three I hate watching to this day because they were just bad. They were like awkward, cringe student films. And I'm glad that we didn't create those for a major company and we just did them as spec ads for ourselves. And after that, we kind of started getting our feet under us and started getting the hang of creating these amazing, entertaining ads really quickly. And I think it was on week 2, we were really big fans of Ryan Reynolds and Aviation Gen and just like the marketing power that he had. And so we're like, what if we made a spec ad for Aviation American Gen? Because he owned the brand at the time. And so we did. We shot it, edited, released it on Instagram all within a day. We ended up working with a Hollywood VFX firm who was also out of work at the time, but they helped us do some of the VFX in this video all in the same day. So it was this crazy tight timeline. I remember waking up at 3 a.m. that day and editing all the way right down to the wire till 8 p.m., got the video out, and basically just immediately went to bed. I'm like, I don't care what people say on this. I'm so tired. We'll just get to it in the morning. And I woke up that next morning and Glenn and Meg were freaking out because Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds had both commented on it. Aviation American Gen commented on it. The video was going like semi-viral at the time. And that ended up getting us on the news. It ended up getting us a ton of other brands reaching out, like really took us to the next level as a video production company. But what was really, really interesting about that is that video, all of the production, all of the effort that went into that video for it going viral and getting us on the news, it still actually only ended up getting 150,000 views, which like for us at the time was incredible. However, at the same time, while we're doing this campaign, we posted our first video ever to TikTok. And it was just a behind the scenes video of showing behind the scenes of like what we saw versus what the camera saw. And that video, just the one video that we made in like 5 minutes, ended up getting 1 million views. And so getting to the end of this campaign, we kind of looked at that and we're like, this is really interesting, because this is when TikTok was really 2020, everybody was locked in their house. It was really just starting to gain a lot of traction. And it was an algorithm that at the time was superior to anything else on the market because it was fully just merit based, like purely based on watch time. Obviously, a lot of people on social media view content very passively, like they're not necessarily engaging with the content, liking it, sharing it, commenting on it. That's probably like 60 to 80% of people who are consuming content. So what TikTok, the way they revolutionized it was figuring out a metric that you didn't need to engage with, which was just watch time. So if your video was getting watch time, even if you had 0 following, if people were watching from the beginning to the end, that showed the algorithm, hey, this is good content and let's continue to promote this. And so it really lowered the barrier to entry, because on Instagram at the time we had maybe 10,000 followers, but with 0 followers on TikTok, we got 1 million views. And so it really changed the game in a lot of ways. And it made us kind of shift our focus to think like, okay, this algorithm is definitely going to change short form content. And now I think a lot of the big players, like obviously Meta, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, has followed suit in having their algorithms work in a similar fashion where watch time is the most important metric. And so at that time, we were just like, let's keep exploring this and testing different accounts and testing different formats to see if we can crack this again and make sure this wasn't just luck. And so we did a similar format and called that to our adsolation campaign, and we called it Honest Ads. And it was basically just skits of if brands made ads that were actually honest. And we had a few of those that went super viral. One of the ones that we did for Tesla, we posted on TikTok, and I think it did 2 million views there. And then we reposted on Instagram, and it did another like 5 million views. And on YouTube Shorts, it had a few million views. And then it was shared on Reddit. I think all across the board, it ended up getting like 12 million views. And so we were like, okay, this is something that works. And we were able to repeat it multiple times on that channel, and just that was like really the first case study to say, okay, this is something that is repeatable. There's a structure here. There's a system that we can actually apply on basically any video in any niche and get views. And this is something that a lot of people would be super, super eager to learn. So that was the point where we decided, like, let's put all of this knowledge into a course and make it like super easy for anybody on earth to afford, so we can reach and impact as many people as possible. And that was the TikTok and Reels creator course. And now we have over 150,000 customers around the world who bought that course.
So that's an amazing story. And I'm glad you shared that with us. Gives a bit of context of how you got there. And so I guess if one thing that's sort of popped into my mind is, if you could go from not being able to create viral videos to creating viral videos, what would be the one thing you would do to make that happen as quick as possible?
Like today, you mean if I had to start a brand?
If you had to do it again, yeah.
I would say probably one of the most important things, and I was actually just reflecting on this morning, is especially in today's era where there is so much AI generated content and so much faceless content. I truly believe that there's never been a better time to be confident and authentic on camera and build a brand around a personality. I think that that's something that has gotten me really, really far, is really getting comfortable on camera and being able to put my face out there and act silly and do things that are a bit cringe and not be too afraid of judgment. I think it's a really, really valuable skill set. That would be like step number one. And in order to do that, I think it takes reps. So for us, it was doing a bunch of different Instagram stories, acting in a bunch of different videos that we were producing, and just like putting ourselves out there every single day. When you're doing that consistently, it's very similar to going to the gym. At first, it's super uncomfortable. It's super awkward. You're worried about what people think. But by the end of doing that for a couple weeks, it just becomes so normal. And I think anybody on earth, if they put the focus and attention into it, they can do that. So like step number one is building some comfort on camera. And then step number two is picking a winning format. And so what we've found, because we've had multiple clients who have hired us to say, hey, can you come and start us a brand new TikTok account, or basically like build us a viral format. And the format that's worked the most consistently for us is a challenge format. And so it's one of 5 format categories that we kind of teach our students. And I would definitely pick a challenge format to be able to have some of like the social interaction component for that. It's just a format that we've seen work extremely well across basically any niche on the internet.
Nice. I'd love to dig into that format side of things a little bit more, because I think that's kind of like almost like the secret key that unlocks this whole viral thing. So I want to dig into that a little bit more. Before we do, though, you often talk about the anatomy of a viral video, and you've got 3 things that you often talk about there. Do you want to, over the next 1 or 2 minutes, just cover what are the 3 things that makes a viral video, the anatomy of a viral video?
Yeah, so to break it down really simply, and some of these terms will be familiar with a lot of people because they're shouted all over the internet now, but it's funny because it's a familiar term, but nobody's actually really truly nailed it. And so the basic core anatomy of a viral video, in its absolute most stripped down, simplest structure, is really the hook at the beginning, the value or journey, and then the payoff at the end. And it has to be structured that way. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. And so we kind of view every single viral video as almost like a sales interaction, where you're dealing with your audience as your customer and you're making an agreement with them. They're exchanging their attention as currency, basically. And you have to promise them that it will be worth the investment. And so what you're doing with a hook is making a promise of payoff. And if you can make a strong enough promise of payoff and then carry through to that payoff, you're going to get the watch time you need to get. You're going to get people watching 100% of your video. And that is what creates viral viewership. And that's extremely oversimplified, but at its core, that's really what it's about.
Awesome. So you often talk, well, I've heard you talk about the hook as kind of like a sales transaction, because people give you their time to watch. Can you touch a little bit more on that? Because I thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah. So basically, if you view, I mean, any short form social media app is like a marketplace. There are millions and millions of potential customers just wandering through, but there's like offers just being flashed in front of them nonstop. Every time like you're scrolling, it's a new offer, it's a new offer. And so you have to create an offer that's extremely compelling for them and is worth investing in, because there's every single day there's more and more creators out there who are making even better offers with their hook. And so the reason that I like to talk about it as a sales transaction is because the hook really is the offer that you're making your audience. And the offer can be educational or entertaining, but it's really just based on a payoff that they're going to get, ideally in the last like 3 to 5 seconds of the video. So the way that we structure every single video is based on the payoff. And we believe that every video you've ever seen kind of fits into 5 categories based strictly on the payoff. So there's challenges, which the payoff in a challenge video is you set stakes at the beginning of it. And so there's a winner and there's a loser. And if you watch all the way to the end to determine who's going to win and who's going to lose. So that's the reason you watch all the way to the end of a challenge video. Then there's an education format. There's a ton of different ways to make educational content, but at the end of every single video, the payoff is always the same, and it's a knowledge gap that you're closing. So you're introducing them to an idea that they don't know, and by the end of the video, they have new information, they have new knowledge. So you've closed that knowledge gap. That's the payoff on an educational format. And then there's a storytelling format where the payoff is basically always just the conclusion of a story. And like this is, I mean, as humans, we're storytellers. We've been doing this since the beginning of time. Before we could even like actually have formed languages, we'd have pictographs on the wall of showing stories. And so when you are doing a storytelling format, it's really just about making it compelling and getting to the conclusion, and that being the payoff of that format. Then there's a wait for it. This is a super common one. And at the end of a wait for it format, the payoff is always a reaction or a reveal. So like a classic would be a prank. So it's like you're waiting to see how this person reacts to the prank. And then the final one is what we call skits and bits. And the payoff for these is always a relatable punchline. So, or an emotion that you're going to get out of it. And so every video falls into one of these 5 categories. And within these 5 categories, there's a ton of different actual format structures that you can follow. And basically every video you see will fall into one of these 5 format categories.
Awesome. So I just clicked on an example there of where I think you're using one of the formats. It's this one here where this really got my attention with Meg and Glenn talking about this is what we do every time our daughter poops, which is, it really got my attention. But this particular video got like millions and millions of views, right? So is this a video that we can use as an example? Like what sort of, was this a kind of like a challenge? Can we go through this one as sort of a case study to see what they did in this video? What do you reckon?
100%. Yeah. Like, did you want to play it through? We can definitely dissect it, because we've actually talked about this pretty thoroughly in our format finder library. We've created an entire library of every single, well, it's being built every day, and every month we're adding videos to it. But basically we deconstruct videos like this and talk about what category it falls into and why it works so well. So I'd love to talk through this one for sure.
Okay, let's do it. Before we do, just something that I noticed about this video was that it wasn't necessarily high production. There weren't any big editing, no fancy cameras. There's maybe a little bit of captions or subtitles in the video. But that really struck me as, this is a viral video. Why did it go viral? It wasn't because of the production, but there's something else, which is really interesting. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I'll try and step through it as we go through it. But it starts off with, this is what we do every time our daughter poops, which is just so hilarious. And then they have this, well, actually, I'll pass it over to you. So what's the first thing they do here? So they start off with that, but then take us through the structure here.
Yeah, so it's been a minute since I've watched this video, but they're
Okay.
basically drawing cards to determine who is going to change their daughter's diaper. And so,
That's right.
yeah,
So
if you want to
yeah,
play it for just 1 second.
yeah, I can play it a bit, and I hope you can hear it too. But let's. I'll go back to the beginning. Let's see.
We do every time our daughter poops. Highest score changes.
Highest changes. You know the
And
rules.
she doesn't poop in like 3
Yeah,
days.
okay, so
This is gonna be a really
All right, so they're doing a draw there to see whoever picks the highest card. That's the person who's going to do the change for the nappy. I'm assuming here, right? So, so
yeah,
okay,
so
so
immediately, I think the things that are important here to pick up on is the audience that they're speaking to. This immediately becomes relatable for any parents, especially like new parents, because it's a common discussion that you're having, like who's going to change the baby. And so what's great, this is like a classic challenge format where it's basically just like you set up stakes and you have some kind of challenge and there's a winner or a loser. And I think what Meg did a really good job adding here is she hasn't pooped in 3 days, so you know it's going to be really bad. And so that
mm,
makes you as a human even more curious to be like, oh, whoever loses, like it's really going to suck to change this thing. Now, if they had
mm,
just said who's going to change the diaper today, like nobody really cares. But as humans, we're super drawn to these stakes of win or lose. That's why these challenges work so well, because even though it doesn't actually personally affect us at all, there's still tension that's created. And what you're doing with a great hook in any challenge or in any format, but in this case, a challenge, is like you're really just creating tension in the audience. And so like it's very, very easy to understand as well. Whoever draws the highest card has to change this like 3-day diaper. And so they're
okay,
going back and forth and they're having a bit of banter. And as a viewer, you're like, okay, I just want to know who draws the higher card. And so what they're doing is obviously the hook here is the stakes that they're setting. Whoever draws the highest card has to change the diaper. So the payoff that you put at the end of the video is basically who wins and who loses. And during the time that it takes to get there, that is when you're providing value or showing the journey. And in their case, what the value is just kind of like it's the relationship dynamic and the banter back and forth. It's educate or it's entertaining for people. It's relatable. It's kind of like cute. It's like that classic couple dynamic. So people relate to them and they enjoy watching that. And then they're watching it to get to the payoff. But what they're also doing as they're watching it is building a relationship with Glenn and Meg and becoming to like them as characters.
I loved watching this because it was so real. I'm not sure if it was scripted. It didn't seem scripted. Maybe it was a little bit sort of planned out or whatever. But the interaction between the two of them was just so natural, and it's like just the way that parents would be. I've got 3 kids of my own, so it's definitely that sort of dynamic that you that you experience there. Okay, so they have the challenge at the beginning. Whoever gets the highest card is going to do the change, and then they do the choosing of the cards, and then this is so funny because then Meg, she chooses the lowest possible card, like the 2 of hearts or something like that. Let me just see what she get. She gets the 2 of hearts, and of course there's no lower card than that, right? So he's already like, and but he I think he then misunderstands the challenge or something like that, which is adding to that nice dynamic. Really thought it's the other way around or something like that, and then he realizes, oh no, it's
Oh,
the highest.
oh, this is actually bad for me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's just sort of really, really funny. And then like you said, the payoff at the end. I can't remember actually what happens at the end here. Let's see. I'll just try and I don't want to show the whole video in case we. Oh, maybe I don't know if I can skip over here. Oh yeah, I can skip. Both unbelievable. Okay, blah blah blah, and then he picks his card and he gets. This is also classic. I'm not sure if you can see that, but he gets the 3 of hearts, which is just 1 card higher than her, which
So
is a little
close.
bit ironic. Yeah. So really well done. And then of course the payoff there is that the loser has to go and change the nappy.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah. Anything else that's important to note about that particular video? Because I've got another question about this as well. But is there anything else that's worth saying about this one, Con?
I mean, I think like what you said at the beginning is probably the most important thing. And based on just the low production value, very minimal equipment. Like I don't even think they used a phone tripod for that. I think they just put their phone on the counter. And I think that's what's really important for people to realize is like coming from a full video production background, like we literally have hundreds of thousands of dollars in gear and lighting and cinema cameras, and it makes zero difference. Like you can, if you have that gear available to you and you use it as like an additional like 1% for your storytelling, sure. But you can get more views just on your phone. Like it's really, really not about the gear, I think is an important takeaway from a concept like this.
Okay, that's really good. So one question that came to mind as I was sort of thinking about these videos going viral, and particularly that one, it's a story about two parents deciding who's going to change the nappy. For me, coming from a business sort of a background, or I want to create viral videos for my business, not necessarily for my parenting. What do you say about that? Like I probably wouldn't want to create a video that goes viral about me changing nappies for my children, for my business. That wouldn't, I probably wouldn't want a video going viral on that topic for my business. So how do you instruct your students on that? Do you tell them to think about viralness within a niche, or does it not really matter?
Yeah, I mean it's totally dependent on what it is that you're trying to sell or what it is that you're trying to do. And so I think the one of the most important things to remember with organic content like this is you have to serve before you sell. Like the intention should never be to try and sell a product. Like if you're building an organic following, you're trying to build an audience of people who like and trust and appreciate and respect you and your brand. And in order to do that, you have to provide them with value first in the form of education, entertainment, whatever it may be. And so I think where a lot of people go wrong is like, yes, that can lead to direct conversion for sure once you've built the trust. But people start with thinking about the sale right off the bat. They're like, oh, I'm in a serious business, so I can't do that. But what people often forget is all of this is human to human, whether you're in B2B, B2C, whatever it is, it's all H to H. Like we're all just dealing with humans who have feelings and want to be related to and want to feel seen and want to laugh and want to cry and want to have emotion. And so that is the most important thing. And there's definitely a way that any brand can use a format to align with their brand messaging and still provide value and get people extremely interested in their product in a way that doesn't feel like they're being sold to. And I think that's the most important thing to remember.
Awesome. I want to come back to the formats a little bit, because it seems like it's kind of like the secret sauce for repeatability, because it's like we talked about, being able to do it just once and going viral once. But what if you want to do this every day, or every week, or every month, whatever? And so we've got this idea of having a format, like creating challenges, like we talked about at the beginning, the first example where Meg's dad used the carrying the being the caddy for people, and sort of starting off with their videos every single time like that. So he's found a winning format or formula. For someone who hasn't gone viral yet, what can they do to figure out what the right format for them would be?
Yeah, so I would say that start by watching a lot of social media. And I think what I was speaking about earlier, like the 5 types of formats, like if you just keep that in mind and think about the payoff and categorize each of these by like what format does that fall into. And I think when you're picking something, when you're picking a format that you want to try, what's important to remember is not only finding a format that gets a lot of views, but also finding a format that is enjoyable for you to create, that doesn't feel like there's a lot of friction, that you can do consistently. It should be enjoyable to create and also get the viewership that you're looking to get. And so, I mean, for us, for our students, it's pretty straightforward, because when you join our format finder library, you can just watch through videos of like right now there's like 30 different formats that you can go and choose and test right away. And within the next couple months, we're going to have over 100 videos that we dissect in there. And then we have an AI integration that you essentially just tell them what niche you're, or explain what niche you're in, and then it will direct you on which format you should try first. And I would say that when you're looking to discover a new format, find one that you think you would like to try for your brand or for whatever it is that you're building, and run it like at least 5 times. Do the same format at least 5 times. So you give yourself meaningful data to be able to go off of. I think that's an important thing to remember. A lot of people try something once and then give up and jump over to the next thing. But anytime you test something, I'd say run it at least 5 times, look at your retention, figure out where people are dropping off, and try and understand why they might be dropping off at that point, and give it an honest test before you try moving on to something totally new. You look at people like Caleb Simpson is a great example for me, because when he found the format that worked for him, he's another person who's just been continuing to do it for the last, I want to say like 3 years now. And if you're not familiar with who Caleb Simpson is, he's just asks strangers on the street how much they pay for rent in New York, and then asks, can I have a tour of your apartment? And it's kind of like this really unique stranger educational video where people are sticking around to see what this apartment looks like. And now he's done it with so many different celebrities, but he tested a bunch of different formats before he ended up landing on that one. And I think that's a really important part of the process, is giving yourself the time to try different things and not bouncing from idea to idea to idea, because that's a lot of creators get stuck in this just one idea to the next, and they don't work on one thing long enough. A lot of the time it's because they lack the clarity on knowing exactly what to do. But every idea, or every week, they're coming up with a new idea. Oh, that didn't work, I'm going to move on to this new idea. And it's like, that's actually not your problem. You're not focusing on one format for long enough to be able to actually see if it's going to work or not.
Awesome. Now we're going to start wrapping things up here. Con, I know that you guys have an amazing free report that goes into like the 6 different steps for making your videos go viral. Do you want to tell people a bit more about that and where they can go to get access to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this guide is really just developed for, mainly for people who don't have much experience creating content, but also for people who have been creating content and are stuck in 200 view jail and just aren't getting the results that they want to get. And it kind of walks through a few of the concepts that we've touched on today, but really it's just a roadmap from starting fresh. And if you want to learn how to create viral videos consistently, doing these 6 steps every single time over and over again to refine your process. And if you're interested in picking up that guide, you can literally just type into your URL. It's just viral.guide, enter your email, and then we'll email you a free copy of it. And I think that's a great first step.
I've got it here on the screen. So if you go to viral.guide, it'll redirect to this page. I actually just signed up for it and I went through the whole report. It's actually really, really useful. I sent it to our person who does all our content for our, repurposing a long form into short form. Say, hey, read this. This is going to really help us a lot. For example, let me just see. I've just got this one page open here, the anatomy of a viral video going into the hook, the value, the payoff. I don't want to scroll here too much to reveal too much, but it is just a value-packed little report that people can download right away. And then there's a bunch of other information that I noticed that is available for people to check out as well. Con, this was just an incredible interview, like a masterclass on how to make your videos go viral. Thank you so much. Anything else that you think, maybe this is my last question. Was there a question you think I should have asked that I didn't ask before we wrap things up?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think necessarily, because I think we touched on it. Something that I really firmly believe is that anybody can create content. Truly anybody on earth, as long as you have an internet connection and a phone that can make videos, anybody can go viral. There has never been a better time to reach millions and millions of people and share your unique ideas and your unique personality. And I think that it's just truly like the creator economy is growing, and it's really special. And I hope that you're taking advantage of this opportunity and continuing to learn and grow and make content.
Well, you've got such an amazing story, Conar, going from, like I said, being a farm boy and then, all the way to being able to create these viral videos for people on social media. I think for me, that's huge encouragement. I think people listening and watching this is going to be huge encouragement as well. Your case studies showcase that as well, that you don't have to be an expert to be able to do this. And I think that is just one of those things that it makes me feel like I can do this too. And I hope you watching this and listening to this as well have that same sort of feeling. Conar, thank you so much. Once again, people, everybody, if you want to get access to that report, it's viral.guide. Go and check it out. Conar, thank you so much. And I look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you again.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to grow your influence with daily short form videos, Vubli makes it effortless. Post everywhere, be seen everywhere. Try it free at vubli.ai. I'll see you in the next episode.